Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video we are going to be talking about another beautiful plant called as the fiddle leaf. It belongs to the genus of Ficus, the same rubber plant that we have spoken about. They all are from the same genus of Ficus. I'll put up the scientific name on the screen. Now guys, ideally this plant is best grown in ground, but you can even grow it in pot as well. You can see the pot is, this pot is around 6 inches and the plant has been growing in it. The initial part was a little bit damaged because of some caterpillars. They had eaten up a little bit, probably some insect. I'm not very sure whether it was caterpillar, but it was a little bit damaged in the initial stage, but it has been doing quite well. It has these beautiful dark leaves which are I would say they are very thick, not like our regular plants. The leaves are very thick and they can easily collect a lot of dust. That's why I keep misting this plant quite often to get rid of the dust. Just like the rubber plant, it gets a lot of dust on it, and we have to clear the dust off for the plant to grow healthy, because when there is a lot of dust on the leaves, it tends to block the process of photosynthesis, especially if the dust is too much. So we have to regularly clean the leaves. I have just sprayed some water and wiped it off with a cloth, but still, as you can see, there's a little bit of dust left still. So that is something that we have to take care. Other than that, this plant is extremely easy and can be grown whether you want to grow it in ground or in pot. It tends to grow really huge if you tend to grow it in ground, but in pot it will grow huge, but it is going to have a limited growth rate, basically growing vertically, because this plant is like a tree. It tends to grow vertically and not it's not going to grow like a shrub or a bush. So it tends to grow really tall. My plant is relatively very young, and I don't think I can grow that huge plant on the terrace over here. Probably if I have a very large pot, then definitely I can do that. But I think as of now, I'm okay with the size of the plant. Now, talking about the care requirements, we'll start off with the light. Now, if the plant is very mature, let's say it's almost turned into a tree, of course, it can handle longer hours of direct sunlight. But if your plant is very young, ensure you're giving it indirect but bright light. Probably early morning until 10 a.m. direct sunlight is absolutely okay. Like my plant gets around direct sunlight, morning direct sunlight, which is mild, until 10 a.m. and after that, during the afternoons, it is kind of getting a shaded, like partial shade kind of an environment. So light is very important. If you're not going to give enough light, the plant will start getting leggy and it will have faster growth. That is called as false growth. Because when the plant starts to stretch, it looks like it's growing taller, but actually that is not the healthy growth. That is growth due to lack of light. So ensure you're giving it a good amount of indirect bright light. Now this plant can be grown indoor as well, but if you're growing it indoor, ensure you're keeping it near the windowsill where it gets a good amount of indirect bright light. And humidity is not much of an issue. The plant will do well in average humidity, anywhere between 50 to 60% and above. It's going to do quite well. Temperature anywhere between 15 degrees Celsius up to 34, 35. Even 36 degree is absolutely okay. The plant will do quite well. Talking about the soil mix, I have used a very less amount of coco peat, around 10 to 20% of coco peat. Rest is garden soil and sand, because they prefer a well draining soil mix. They do not like the soil to be soggy wet. It has to have an even moisture but not soggy wet soil. The plant can handle a little bit of underwatering but not excessively, otherwise the plant will start to have brown leaves. So ensure you're maintaining a slight amount of moisture but not soggy wet soil. The pot should have a drain hole so that the excess water can drain out. Now, talking about propagation, this plant can be grown via cuttings as well. If you're buying a plant and if you want to do a cutting, for example, if I have to do a cutting over here, I can do the cutting. Either I can put it in leca, in water, or I can put it directly into the soil and it will start to root. Again, the rooting depends upon your environment and climate. The best time is during the summers. Don't do any kind of cuttings during the winters, because the plant kind of goes into a slow growth. No, not complete dormancy, but it starts to have a very slow growth. So the right time would be during the summers. You can do a cutting. Talking about fertilizers, the same thing. Do not add any fertilizers during the winters. You can do it during the summers when they are in their active growing period. This plant is native to the tropical Western Africa, so the word tropical itself can give you an idea of what the requirements of this plant is. Now talking about, is this plant toxic? Yes, this plant is toxic. Now I couldn't find any information about if it is toxic to humans, but it is definitely toxic to pets especially, so ensure you're keeping this plant away from their reach, because a lot of times pets are very curious and they might go ahead and take a bite, so it is toxic to them, so keep it at a safe distance. Other than that, it's a pretty easy to grow plant. It's a very non-fussy plant. If you're looking out for a balcony plant wherein you get a good amount of indirect bright light, you can definitely grow this plant. It will grow like a tree, so a lot of people are interested in growing plants that look like a tree. Then this is one of the plant you can add in your collection, because it definitely grows really tall. In a very less space as well, it will put out a lot of large leaves and it will grow taller. So if you want to have that small jungle vibe, then this is one of the plant you can add in your collection. Pest issues, this plant does get affected mostly with scale insects, because they will attack the stem. But other than that, mealybugs are, I wouldn't say it's very common, but it's not very rare as well. They do get affected with mealybugs, but more often they do get affected with scale insects and spider mites. So always turn the leaves and check. If you happen to see anything, go with any organic solution that you have been using all this while, and that will take care of it. Always check the plants and do the treatment at the early stage. Do not wait for the last minute. So guys, that's all about it. It's a pretty easy to grow plant. There are more varieties in this. This is one of the variety. I'll put up the name on the screen. I think there are around probably 2 to 3 more varieties of fiddle leaf. So this is one of them, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep planting.